Hello everybody and welcome back to Broken Brian, and today I'm going to give my 2 cents on Dragon Age the Veilguard. And we're going to go through this article and I'm going to give some thoughts on it from my perspective, which is I'm not playing it. I'm watching it, but I'm not playing it. Same like I did with Black Myth Wukong. I didn't play it, but I watched it. Watched it on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and even Rumble, and we're going to kind of discover some of the differences. And the biggest thing is a lot of gamers out there that game a lot saw the early clips that were being clipped from the beta and from early release sources, knew that this was not going to be a stellar game. It has a lot of injected identity politics into it. It just does. And I thought about showing those clips, but I thought, no, I'm not going to subject people to them. You can find them on YouTube, losing their absolute minds for being misgendered. And when you misgender somebody, they make you do push-ups like you're in the military or something. It's weird. So I'm not even going to show those to you, but they're out there and they're cringe on an ultimate level. It's just, how is this escapism? How is this fun? How is this what gamers want? And in reality, this is not what gamers want. Dragon Age is a long-running intellectual property. It's been around for a long time, and everyone that's played this falls into two camps. They either feel like they're being paid to promote it, or they absolutely hate it. There's very little that I've seen that's in the middle. Like, it's okay. It's a good game. It's not great. There's not much. The viewpoints on this are very polar opposite. And that kind of says something. And so let's just take a look at what this article says. And, well, before we do that, I will say, during my streams that I've watched, you can kind of tell where some people that are really liking it feel like they're saying things, have certain phrases that are repeated over and over. It's like, man, I heard someone say that on another stream. You kind of hear it like they have some talking points like they're supposed to mention. That makes me think that a few of these streamers are being paid to play it and promote it. I could be wrong, but it just seems that way. That's from me just casually observing these live streams, because I want to see what this game really is. I will, however, say this. No matter which side of the aisle they're on, or they love it or hate it, even the ones that love it even casually slip up and say, the targeting for enemies is wonky. It's bad. Like, worse than Star Wars Outlaws. Like, literally, you're trying to attack an enemy in front of you, directly in front of you. You're locked on, and right before you hit the button, your targeting switches to another enemy that's further away, and so you miss your target, you miss your hit, and you take damage from another enemy, another one in the mob. And it's just, the targeting system is bad, much less the story is boring. And even though it's kind of open world, a lot of it is you can't go anywhere. You can't kind of go to a place, even though nothing happens there. You can't really, something will happen there. You can't go before your time. And that's not a bad mechanic. It's not a bad institution, but you should be able to at least kind of see a little bit into that area, being like, oh, you can't go here yet. And I ran into that a lot with Visions of Mana. Can't go there yet. You got to go wait for the story and blah, blah. Okay. But at least you can kind of get up to that area and explore around that area you can't open yet. And even when I was playing Dragon Quest, I think yesterday or the day before, I explored a whole area that way before I was supposed to by accident, because I was trying to find an entrance into a city, and I went way in the wrong direction and exploring an area that I eventually ended up going to like an hour later. I was like, oh yeah. They're like, oh, you need to go to the library. Yeah, I've already been to the library. Couldn't do anything. But now I can get into the library and I can do things. And that's kind of one of those, you know, you can argue that, but it seems that you're forced to go a certain path and you can only explore where past areas you've been. You can't open explore and kind of eventually get back to where you want to. It feels like an open world, but very confined. And that's just something I've taken from all the streams I've watched. So let's kind of break down what's going on and why people are unhappy. Now, the peak of player count was 89,000, never breaking 100,000. And you're like, well, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Well, it takes context. Overall, that sounds good, but this is a AAA game. This is a high production, a lot of developers, a lot of time. Depending on sources, this has taken 8 to 10 years to develop. 8 to 10 years, costing nearly $500 million. And you're getting under 100,000 people playing. That's not good. Now, if this was like an indie game, that'd be fantastic. That'd be wonderful. They don't have the promotion. They don't have the IP that's been around for years. Yeah, that number would be great. But for BioWare and EA, for a AAA game, for an established franchise, 89,000 is bad. It is. It's bad. More people are playing Fortnite right now. And how long has that been around? And it's not like, granted, they did release the new OG map, and a lot of people come back, and that's one of those games. It's a live service game. It's not a one-player game. So I don't like to compare it. But, a lot of people are playing a lot of different games. So you kind of got to get it. I want to try to compare apples to apples here. But a lot of people kept saying it's like IGN and Kotaku. Oh, it's a success. It doesn't look that way. And YouTuber Endymion. And I like Endymion. I think he's got a good success rate with his sources and some of the things coming back. Some of the things he's gotten wrong. We all get things wrong occasionally, and that's no problem. But for the most of the time, he's pretty spot on. A lot of the argument will come down to like his actual numbers. Sometimes he gets the wrong numbers, and that may be from his source. That may not be because of him, and various other reasons. But he does his best to try to make connections and get behind the scenes information. And he's saying that about 30,000, there it is, 30,000 refunds in the past few days. 30,000 refunds have been asked for through Steam, through PlayStation, through Xbox. 30,000 refunds have been requested. That's not good. Okay, you get a few thousand. Okay, that's understandable for a AAA game. I bought this, but this is not what it's like. I don't like it, blah, blah, blah. There's probably refunds all the time. But these are ones that are bought digitally, because a lot of companies like GameStop and Walmart and a couple others, they'll take the games back for a refund only if they're unopened. So if you've played it, you can't take the physical copies back. That's just the rule. And although it's kind of annoying, I do get it. And the only reason I hate that little caveat, I've literally opened games in GameStop when I've purchased them, like literally at the counter. I've pulled up my pocket knife, cut it open, opened it, and made sure the cartridge is in there. Because I did do that once. I got, what was it? I got some Sonic game for the Switch, and when I got there, I got the case, but there was no cartridge in it. It's rare. But it happened. And I was like, what the heck? There's no game in here. It was just the case and that's it. So I literally, when they do that, I'm like, open right there, boom. If it's not there, I'm like, nope, you have to give me another one. And that hasn't happened yet, but I check every time now for when I buy a physical copy from retailers that will not take it back unopened. And you should too. So, like, open it. Once you pay for it, open it right then and there and show them. Because it doesn't happen often, but it's happened to me twice within the last 2 years. Probably once in the past 6 months and probably once right around Christmas. Second time was right around Christmas. That was annoying because it was a gift for my son and didn't have a cartridge. And I was like, that's just infuriating. But back to this. Yeah, there it goes. Like here, breakdown of kind of what's going on. Best Buy. Forgot. Best Buy. I don't know if... And see, IGN gives it a 9 out of 10, and Eurogamer gives it a 5 out of 5. Let's keep in mind that IGN also gave Mario and Luigi Brotherhood a 5. Yeah. IGN is the only good source of information and news. The reviews are trash. I don't know who reviews. Some of the reviews are so far off the mark from what people are doing it. And there was a big call a while back that journalists that review these games need to show them playing the game themselves and not just writing a review for it. And some people are like, well, how dare you tell that? And I was like, I kind of get it. Because I see streamers that are playing these games all the way through, whether they hate them or love them, and then they're giving their opinion on it. And they're like, well, how do you know? And they're like, go look at my channel. I played every minute of this game. And these reviews are coming out so fast, there's no way they played through the first 2 chapters of most of these games. Just not possible. And the fact that neither one of them complained about the targeting mechanic tells me they really didn't play the game. So that's why I like user reviews over site reviews and people that have actually can show the receipts that they've played the game. I played the game. Here it is. You want to see it? Here's all 80 hours of the game I played. I live streamed it here on Twitch or here on YouTube. Boom, there it is. So say, yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. I played it. That's why if you're going to find a YouTuber that plays games that you like and enjoys games you like, and follow them to see what they play and what they think of the game versus IGN, Eurogamer, things like that. Because look at this. I mean, the average review is 2.3 out of 5 on Google with 4,500 reviews. And even at the review bombing level, that doesn't account for this number. It just wouldn't. There's no way. But, Dragon Age Origins, 8 out of 10. That's what it's on Google, 8 out of 10. It's not like the property itself is bad. It's this instance of this game is bad. Story-wise, mechanic-wise, the messaging, the politics, the fact that you can't make a woman look like a woman, but you can have top surgery scars. I mean, it's crazy. You can add pronouns, you can add how you want to identify, and it's just insane with all that. And vast majority of 1 out of 5. Even with review bombing, if people say review bombing exists, and I do believe it does exist, and they're like, that's why it is just review bombed, then then the inverse also has to be true. People posting positive reviews for games that are trash. We've seen that. We've seen people being like, oh yeah, I was paid to promote this, and I got called by this company, and I got called by this representative to pay to do it. And I mean, the character design, you can create your own character and make it look however you want. But yeah, for a AAA game, it just doesn't look good. And honestly, let's compare apples to apples. Let's look at the numbers, number wise, for Black Myth Wukong versus Veilguard. Same type of game, considered the same level, both considered AAA games. Black Myth Wukong was done by a much smaller studio, first entry in its property. All-time peak is 2.4 million people playing the game. Peak 2.4 million. Dragon Age Veilguard couldn't break 90K. Almost 4 times the amount of people played this game from a studio, a budding studio, with the first entry in their IP. I mean, and it's right now, it's peak. It can't break the 24-hour peak of Black Myth Wukong that was released early August. So August, September, October, November. So we're 3 months out. October, September, August, September, October. We're about three months out of people playing this game. And see, this is where this is where people are starting to beat it, so they stop playing it. And so the number just drops down. You know, a lot of people are finishing the game. People are coming in and playing it after so long. You know, okay, yeah, now I'll finally get around to it. I've been playing other games. I'll get to it. And it has a slow decline, and it's just kind of leveling out. And it's probably going to stay this way for a little bit, and then it'll drop a little lower. That's just the natural life cycle of a one-player game. But with this, I mean, look at it. It can't break a 3 month. Okay, August 20th was when it was released. Okay, I thought it was earlier than that. I didn't notice that. It can't break this peak, and they're like, "This is going to be game of the year." Everyone's like, "Oh, this is going to be a lot of these agencies out. A lot of these review sites are like, this is going to be game of the year. Dragon Age: The Veilguard is going to be game of the year." I'm like, look at the numbers. If you think this is a better game than this, based on the numbers, you're lying to yourself. You just are. And this is what I'm talking about. Because once those scenes got linked of like, oh, she's not a he or they are not a he or she, they are non-binary, do push-ups. And every time you select a misgendered greeting, which I think you can a few times during the playthrough, when you're talking to, I forget her name now, the fire breather, Tosh, I believe it's Tosh, and you gotta do push-ups, and some of the NPCs that you don't interact with will do it, and they have to do push-ups as well. It's just craziness. It's like, this isn't exciting, and the story is like, it seems interesting, but it's kind of like, ooh. You get little snips of interesting, but everything else along the way, even the side quests, appear to be more boring and more just designed to consume. And even the gallery of enemies is a lot smaller than I would expect from a AAA game. I think I experienced more different enemy types in the first hour and a half playthrough of Visions of Mana than I've seen in Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Just saying. Different types, different characters, completely different enemies, different skill sets, everything. And within an hour and a half, I saw more enemy types than I have in Dragon Age: The Veilguard. And it's just kind of like, okay. And don't get me wrong, the skill tree that you can develop through your character is very intricate. It's very vast, and you can do a lot of different things with it. It seems like they spent way too much time on that and not the actual gameplay and the story. A lot of the things you can do to enhance and modify your equipment is really interesting. It's really neat, but that seemed to be more important than the story and the gameplay. And this is just from me watching. I've probably seen the entirety of it twice now, because I'll literally just have it up and just watching playthroughs from different streamers while I'm doing other things, you know, just kind of like have it and just listening and just looking over periodically and seeing what's going on. And it's crazy. It's like, wow. And the dialogue is really weird. It's just, it feels like junior high level creative writing class. Bland. I mean, really. I'm not even going to give examples. Like I said, I thought about showing clips. But if you're watching this, you've probably seen clips. You've probably seen it, and I don't want to subject you to it again. And if you never see it, if you haven't, I don't want to subject you to it in the first place, because it is, it makes you just want to scrub your brain with a toothbrush. Some of them are just beyond ridiculously dumb. It's like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, some of the stuff is like, you take 2 seconds to think about it. You're like, well, what you said just contradicts everything that we learned about in the last half hour. It's a mess. It really is. And I'm not saying this from someone who's played. I've watched. And from my watching, I've watched people play demos and things like that. And I'll go find them, see like, oh, I've heard about this game. I'm going to go watch some people play. Is this a game that might look fun to me? That's how I found a lot of games. And I mean, I'm stacking up games like crazy on my Steam profile, and I'm like, gosh, I don't know when I'm going to play all these games. But really and truly, when it comes to it, you got a game like this, $500,000, a decade in the development, and you still can't beat a game that's almost 3 months old. That most people that are playing it have probably completed it. I guarantee you, at least 15 to 20% of these people playing Black Myth Wukong are streamers or speedrunners. They're streaming, trying to show different things, different techniques, different things you missed. They're creating content for their channels, or they're the speedrunners trying to perfect the fastest run through of the game possible. And that's just, there's just a culture of speedrunners out there, and that's just what they do. They try to find a way to do it, or they're, challenging it, like, beat the game without taking a hit, or something like that. Just crazy stuff like that. I guarantee you 10 to 15% of this is just that. And I guarantee you 0% is in the 60,000 number. 0%. Most of these people are playing it and they're just like, wow, I'm going to play it. Oh, you feel represented. We're supposed to be playing games to have fun and escape. And this feels like the exact opposite of it. And as someone who's watched it countless hours at this point, I can't see myself buying it, because the different people I've seen play the different classes, and I'm like, everything just feels like it's clunky. Like, even the fighting sequences, no matter which class you pick, it always feels like everything's so slow. Like, their attacks, just feel like they're overburdened, like they just don't have the physical strength to do the moves they're supposed to. And it feels really weird, especially the tank class, the warrior class. Just feels like it's just slow to move and can't do anything. So this is what people are talking about, and they're not happy about it. And honestly, why should they be? You have a AAA game that has a bland story, bland dialogue, interesting points, good character abilities, skill sets, good items and enchantments, terrible messaging, terrible battle mechanics, and just all around feels repetitive from area to area. Just completely feels repetitive. If this was a turn-based strategy game like I've been playing, it makes sense. Okay, you got certain things, but even in the turn-based, they mix up the mobs and stuff more than they have in Dragon Age the Veilguard. The mobs just feel like it's the same set of enemies over and over and over again. Not even changing them out here and there. Just feels like the same thing over and over again. And that's my opinion. I'm not really reviewing it and giving it a rating because I didn't play it. But from what I've seen, I wouldn't waste my money. I wouldn't even play it if it was given to me. I'd be like, thank you for the gift. Just like when I received like a wool sweater that's 2 sizes too small from a family member at Christmas. Thank you for the gift. And I will put it in my closet. And then a couple years later, once you've totally forgotten about it, I will give it to the Salvation Army. That's what I would do with this game. That's my opinion. It's not everyone's opinion, but the numbers seem to line up with what I've seen, and I think people should be aware of it. So, it is what it is. Can this game be saved? No. Is BioWare going to face a lot of backlash? Yes. And though before I started this video, I did try to find the sources. I couldn't remember where I saw them, but I know they're on Twitter somewhere, that a majority of the developers that worked on Dragon Age the Veilguard have already been moved to Mass Effect 5. So, there will be no DLC for Dragon Age the Veilguard. It's done. BioWare has just said, okay, yeah, we're cutting it off here, and we're done with this. We're going to just let it ride. All the developers have been put on the Mass Effect 5 team. That's the rumor. I don't have any verification. I saw a couple posts, I think on Twitter, but I can't remember who posted it, so I just couldn't find them. And when I was searching for it, I couldn't find them, but that's the rumor. So take that as a sign of what BioWare thinks of its own game and how it's done. Will those developers be allowed to do what they did here in Mass Effect 5? Well, if they do, BioWare has a serious problem on its hand. If not, BioWare may survive 2025 and 2026. We'll just have to see. So, that's my thoughts on Dragon Age the Veilguard. If you love Dragon Age, may I suggest go pick up Dragon Age Origins or any of the other properties and play Dragon Age. But I would steer clear of this one. I do believe it is not a good game from a technical or creative standpoint. I just don't think it's a good game. So, until next time, my friends, as always, I love you all, and there's nothing you can do about it.